Saint Vincent Ferrer, one of the greatest saints of Dominican order, was preaching beside the ruins of a church dedicated to Our Lady of Pity in the region of Brittany in northwest France. And he said, "This time I will restore this church." But he said, there will come in the near future, and this work will be reserved to a man reserved by heaven, whom God will raise up in the distant future. A man will come who is unknown, a man despised, contradicted, and scoffed. A man, nevertheless, with the great power of God and grace of God, will renew this church and the people around. Yes, 3 centuries later, a tall, strong, and a brawny man stood in the same plain of the ruined church, and he said to the crowd, "I am the unknown man," he said softly, and said, predicted by Saint Vincent Ferrer, who was to see the rebuilding of this church of Our Lady today. And he reconstructed the church, not only the church, and also with his preaching, he renewed the face of the Western France. Yes, dear friends, I am now here in Saint Louis, before the Basilica of Saint Louis-Marie Grignion de Montfort, a saint who has witnessed the renewal of the Western France. Louis-Marie Grignion de Montfort was born 31st January 1673 in a village called Montfort La Cane. Today it is called Montfort Sumiu. His parents were John Baptist, a notary, and also his mother Jan. He was the eldest of the 18 children, and during his childhood he had a great devotion to Mary. He would always follow his mother, who was also very devoted to Mother Mary, and he developed a great devotion to our mother. And at the age of 12, he entered Jesuit college, St. Thomas Becket College in Rennes, and where his uncle also was a priest. His uncle was a priest, also a parish priest, and he also had a great devotion to Mary. His name was Abbe Julien Bellier, and he used to speak about the itinerant mission and devotion to Mary, and the need to have a group of people who would pray to Mary and commit their life for the mission. And Montfort was very much inspired, and he had a great desire to be a missionary. Once he finished his college, he wanted to join the seminary. And it happened, it was when he was 20 years old, he left his home after completing his first part of study, and he wanted to go to Paris to continue his study to pursue priesthood. And something marvelous happened when he left his house. His parents gave him 3 things. His dad, coming from a middle class family, offered him a horse ride that he could use horse up to reach Paris. It was 230 miles from his home to Paris, and Montfort would say no. He preferred to go to Paris by walk to enter the seminary. And then his mother bought and gave him a new cloth, and his father also gave him 10 eku, which was money sufficient for him to use on the way. But he took the new suit which was given by the mother and also the money given by his father. As he left his house, around 30 kilometers, he had to pass a Seine bridge to cross over and then continue his travel to Paris. Something marvelous happened here. As he was crossing the Seine bridge, he said goodbye to his parents and every member of the family. And as he crossed other side of the bridge, he saw a beggar sitting and with a biting call, and he asking for help. He was asking for help. Montfort, without any thought, he gave the new suit that was given by his own mother and exchanged with the beggar. And the money that his father gave for him to have during the travel also gave to the beggar. And Montfort takes the cloth of the beggar and he exchanges his own cloth. There comes a radical decision to embrace the poverty and to become a new person as he entered into a new stages of his life. And he reached in Paris, externally appearing like a beggar, but internally with a great desire and burning zeal to become a missionary. Montfort reached Paris and entered the seminary of Saint-Sulpice. And this seminary was founded by the Jean-Jacques Olivier, one of the leading exponents of what to be called as the French School of Spirituality, with the emphasis on the mystery of incarnation and the role of Mary in the plan of salvation. And it was an ideal place, Montfort, to grow in the Marian devotion and the spirituality. But the bad news came for him. The one who was supposed to sponsor him lent down, and he would not have someone to sponsor his studies. And then he had to stay in the Saint-Sulpice for the poor seminarians. And sometimes during his studies, he had to watch over the dead for 3 nights and 3 days in order to gain some money for his expenses. And with a lot of sacrifices and embracing the poor situation, he remained without losing the zeal to become a missionary. And he successfully completed his studies. During his study there, he was a librarian, and he made every possibility to read every book written on Mary and spirituality. And it was a great possibility for him to deepen his devotion to the Blessed Mother. The time has come now, after his studies, to get ordained, and his ordination date was 5th June 1700. After his ordination, few days later, he celebrated his first Mass at the altar of the Blessed Virgin Mary in the Church of Saint-Sulpice in Paris. And one of his first biographers, Blaine, would say regarding Montfort at the altar, he said, "I saw an angel at the altar." That was the intense preparation and the desire and the zeal by which Montfort prepared to this great day. And it was a well-prepared day, and he received all the blessings for the rest of the mission that will follow. After his ordination, one of his first appointments as a priest was to the community of St. Clement in the Diocese of Nantes. During this time, his letters show that he was very much frustrated because of the lack of opportunity to preach the missions. And he expressed also he had a great desire to preach to the poorest of the poor. And during this time, he also had a desire to form a company of priests under the banner of Blessed Virgin Mary, to take up the itinerant missions in and around this place. And after some time, an invitation came for him to go to Poitiers, in the Diocese of Poitiers, and he went there, and he was a chaplain of the General Hospital in Poitiers. this general hospital would accommodate the destitutes and people who are abandoned in the street. And he was a good father, very kind to them. Then after some time, he was asked to leave from there, and he came to Paris, and he worked again in a general hospital founded by the Saint Vincent de Paul. And after that, he was left without any ministry, and he took a time to pray, and he was lodged in one of the streets of Paris. And almost a year he did not have any ministry. He spent more time in prayer and meditation, and there he wrote the beautiful writings of love of eternal wisdom. Then again the call came from the Diocese of Poitiers that he could return again, and he went back again to Poitiers, and he was again the chaplain of the general hospital. This time Bishop also gave the permission to do the mission in and around the Diocese of Poitiers. One of his first community that he formed was in the suburb of Poitiers, Montbernage, where he would practice later in his later missions all that he wanted to practice. He would put into practice in this place, like praying the Rosary, also processions, and also animating the small group to pray together, and so on. And this community became very active, and lot of people was attracted by his preaching and his creativity of praying the Rosary and the spiritual animation. There soon the jealousy was also there, and because of jealousy of his wonderful ministry, some people attacked him, and also the news came to Bishop, and he was asked to discontinue from there. Then he was thinking of what to do now, and he thought of a foreign mission after discernment, and for that he needed higher authorities' guidance. Then he decides in the 1706 to go to Rome as a pilgrimage and to meet the Pope to discern his desire for the foreign missions. And in February he leaves from Poitiers to Rome, more than 2,000 kilometers. He walks visiting Loreto and reaches to Rome, the holy city, to meet Pope. And he was given audience by the Pope, then Pope Clement XI, and told him, go back to the place where you come from, the northwest of France in the region of Brittany, around that place, go and continue the mission there, and give him also the title apostolic missionary. And with a great zeal, Montfort returned from Rome with a conviction to continue the mission in this region. After returning from Rome, meeting with Pope Clement XI, he and his companion directly went to Les Monts-Michel, a very famous place in France, where there is a sanctuary of Archangel St. Michael. He went there and to pray. Now it was very clear that his mission will be in the northwestern France, and he was preparing, and he spent almost 15 days in prayer, in retreat, here he prayed for the grace to touch the hearts of the people, because he knew that he is going to begin the long mission in the days to come. And after the spiritual preparation, he went to meet one of the great preachers of that area, Father Louis-Marie, in the Diocese of Saint Malo and Saint Brieuc. So with the team, he began to work preaching the missions. And it was very difficult for him to be part of the team and preach. And after a few successful mission preaching, he left in 1708 to work in the Diocese of Nantes. In the Diocese of Nantes, as he was working, and there were many people came to know about his preaching, and he became very famous. He began the group of confraternities of Blessed Virgin Mary and Rosary groups, and also he built Calvaries in order to show the great sacrifice God the Father has done through his Son Jesus Christ. So many people began to call him a good father from Montfort. And one of the most striking period during this time when he was working in the Nantes was the building of a big Calvary in the land of the Magdalene in Pontchateau. He took the help of the local people to build the Calvary, and it was a great labor of 15 months. And he began this work in 1709 May and completed in 1710 September. September 14 was the day to bless the Calvary, but unfortunately the order was that the Calvary should not be blessed, but it should be destroyed. And Montfort set in to meet the bishop to change the decision, but would not succeed. And he came back on 15th September. He says that the order is being executed, and people were all in tears, and they asked him, "What shall we do?" And Montfort consoled everyone and said, "If the God the Father wishes that this Calvary remains only for 24 hours, a single day, who am I to go against? I will obey God's will 1,000 times than to disobey." And he said, "Let us, they may destroy this Calvary, but let us build a Calvary in our hearts that no one can destroy." After the Pontchateau episode in 1710, Montfort wanted to leave the diocese of Nantes and to go for mission elsewhere. And there comes the invitation of the Bishop of La Rochelle, the diocese of La Rochelle, Bishop Monsignor Stephen Chamfleur. He was invited and he went there. Remaining 5 years was a very busy time for Montfort till his death in 1716. Montfort preached a lot of missions. In La Rochelle, he also started a school for the poor children, and he preached against the Protestants and who are against the Catholic faith, and who abused the name of Mary and the devotion to her. And it was during this time, he was also helping in the general hospital of St. Louis hospital in La Rochelle. And during this time, during the summertime, he used to take more time in prayer in the hermitage of St. Eloi, where he wrote the masterpiece of his life, True Devotion to Mary, where he explains true devotion to Mary and the need to consecrate ourselves to the Jesus Christ through the hands of our Blessed Mother. And it remains as a masterpiece, and it is translated more than 43 languages till today. And during this time, he also found time to write the rules for the Company of Mary and also Daughters of Wisdom, which he would found. And as Montfort completed his mission in La Rochelle, he invited two collaborators in Poitiers, that is Marie-Louise and Catherine Brunet, to come to La Rochelle. And they would make their first professions, and they would become officially the first Daughters of Wisdom. And they would take up the cross, and after completing his La Rochelle mission, Montfort is destined to preach the mission in Saint-Laurent-sur-Sèvre. After completing the mission in La Rochelle, he is come to Saint-Laurent-sur-Sèvre to preach his mission, and this happened to be the last mission. And he came in the April 1716, and April 22nd was the day of the celebration, and the bishop also would come. And as he was preparing the entire people and also the procession and everything, and he was also, because of the rain and so on, he got a fever and became very ill. And during the celebration, they asked who is preaching before the celebration, and bishop told him, "Let Montfort preach." And though he was very sick, he came to preach his final sermon. That happened to be his final sermon in the same place, in the same church, and he was preaching. And the last preaching was the theme of his last preaching was the tenderness and gentleness of Jesus. And as he preached, he collapsed and he became very ill. And after a few days, on 28th April, he said goodbye to this world in order to embrace the merciful love of the Heavenly Father. Montfort completed his journey on this earth. Like St. Paul, he would bravely say, I have fought the fight and I have finished my race. Yes, 16 years of his priestly life, he preached more than 200 missions, and he walked thousands of kilometers on foot, preaching one mission to another mission. And here lies his mortal remains, his relics, and finally he was buried here. His last mission was in this place, Saint-Louis, in the Diocese of Lucerne. He preached 200 missions, and soon after his death, many people began to pray and they began to receive the many graces and healings. And he became very famous, and he was beatified in 1888 by Pope Leo XIII, and he was canonized in 20 July 1947 by Pope Pius XII. And here in his tomb and around this place, you can see the many favors received by the people, and as a sign of gratitude, they have placed placards and thanking intercession of Blessed Louis-Marie de Montfort. And along with Montfort, we can also see Blessed Marie-Louise Trichet, who was the first daughter of wisdom, who received, Montfort received her first vows. So she also laid to rest here. Why? There is a connection between Montfort and Blessed Marie-Louise. Montfort died at the age of 43 on April 28th. After 43 years later, same day, same time, she also died. 28th April, same day. So therefore, there is a spiritual connection between both of them, and both of them rested together in this basilica of dedicated to Saint Louis-Marie de Montfort in the place of Saint-Louis in the Diocese of Lucerne. And in this place also Pope John Paul II, a Marian Pope, came to pray. Why? Because he had taken his papal motto, Totus, from the spirituality of Montfort, to Jesus through Mary, complete consecration. I am all yours and all I have is yours, to Jesus through your Blessed Mother. So 30 years ago, 1996, September, Pope John Paul II gave a surprise visit to this basilica and prayed in this tomb, and he also animated the Vespers, and the chair which John Paul II came and sat, and it is placed here as a memory of his coming, and this year celebrates 30 years of Pope John Paul II coming. So in this place, many people come and pray in this basilica, and people continue to receive his blessings. Montfort was a man of the cross and preacher of the Rosary and a great evangelizer. He fought for Christ and he defended Mary, and his great desire was to make known the love of Jesus and also Mother Mary. And he said the greatest way and the shortest way and the easiest way to Jesus is through Mary. And he wrote the true devotion to Mary and secret of Mary, love of eternal wisdom, and prayer for missionaries, and so on. Montfort continues to inspire, and his followers today working more than 35 countries in all the continents of the world. And Montfort founded Montfort Missionaries, Daughters of Wisdom, and also Montfort Brothers of Saint Gabriel, who is part of this same mission, continue to inspire. And more than 35 countries, we have 2,655 members between fathers, brothers and sisters, and with 135 novices from the Montfortian family of 3 congregations. Yes, Montfort continues to live, not only in this place, but all the continents and all the time. As we celebrate the feast of Montfort, I offer all of the intentions at the tomb of our founder, who toiled, worked and witnessed Christ, that we also continue his mission entrusted to us, being the disciple of Jesus, preacher of the word of God, and also defender of Mary, and also having true devotion to Mary, so that we can become the true followers of the Church and the Lord. Montfort prophesied that in the latter times there will be more children of Mary than ever. And in the latter times, there will be a handful of people who will defend the faith, who will defend the church, and also defend their own souls. Yes, centuries have passed. Montfort prophecy is coming into truth. The children of Mary is increasing day by day, witnessing this great time of trial, defending the faith and the church. Really, consecration to Jesus through the hands of Mary, Montfort proposes, is one of the greatest means to have communion with Jesus and to live this life in its completeness. We need to follow the call of Montfort to surrender ourselves completely to Jesus through the hands of Mary, through a complete consecration. Lighting a candle for all your intentions through the intercession of St. Louis-Marie de Montfort, Blessed Mary of Jesus, and praying for all of you. This is Father Georgie Paul, clerical, from St. Louis for the Goodness Channel Global Television.